All right, so let's look at some kind of word problems that talk about domain in a broad sense and domain in a kind of more specific sense in a couple different ways. So let's start with this word problem that we've got right over here. I'll try to get it all in frame. Officials in a town use a function c to analyze traffic patterns. C of n represents the rate of traffic through an intersection, where n is the number of observed vehicles in a specified time interval. What would be the most appropriate domain for this function? So, first we need to look at, we are looking for a domain, which means we're looking for an input or an x in most cases. So we're looking for input or x. And then they say, all right, we've got a function c to analyze traffic patterns represented by c of n. And c of n represents the rate of traffic, where n is the number of observed vehicles. Well, I know that when I see information like this function notation, that means that really n is my input. So in this case, input or x, we're actually going to be looking at the variable n, and we're going to see what could be a possible set of those, because that's going to be my domain, my input. So where n is the number of observed vehicles in a specified time interval. So n is the number of vehicles. Now, if you start looking through these, over a certain amount of time, you cannot have a negative number of vehicles. The lowest amount you can see is no vehicles through the intersection. There's no such thing as a negative vehicle there. Same thing with 2. I can't have negatives. 3, I can't have a fraction of a vehicle. A motorcycle isn't half of a car. It's a vehicle, right? It's another thing in the intersection. So it's going to be answer choice 4 over here for this question. So that's kind of a more specific one. You had to recognize they're looking for domain. That means the input n, and they tell me what n is here, and you just got to kind of talk to yourself a bit. Let's try another example here on the review packet, question number 3. Which domain would be the most appropriate set to use for a function that predicts the number of household online devices in terms of the number of people in the household? So they're looking for domain again, which means I'm looking for the input. When they say, all right, a function that predicts the number of household devices, that is going to be my output. Whatever it's predicting, whatever the function is doing, is my output. And then it says, in terms of the number of people in the household, this is saying when it's in terms of, that means that is my input. And they're asking for the domain, so we're looking for number of people in a household. What could be an appropriate way to represent the number of people in a household? And it's actually going to be true as well for this output, so it didn't matter if you knew which one was the input here, but it's good to know that we're actually looking for a number of people. So, you're looking for a number of people. Can that be represented as integers? Well, integers are all of my like kind of regular whole numbers, but it includes negatives. So -1, 0, 1, 2, going on forever that way, and also to the left. It can't be integers. I can't have a negative number of people in the home. If a person leaves, it just goes down until you get to 0, and then there are 0 people in the home. Whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, going on from there. That sounds pretty good. You can have 0 people in a household, though it means no one's living there. You could have 1, 2, or 3 people. That sounds okay. Irrational and rational are both decimals. Irrational is non-terminating, no pattern or anything like that. Rational, it's going to have decimals. You can't have a decimal number of people in a household, so it's got to be answer choice 2 over here. All right, I mean, those are kind of the two different ways